Welcome to the Paranormal Project radio show. Journey with us through mystical realms to a world of the unexplained. If you're ready, take a deep breath and let curiosity be your guide. And now, here are your hosts, spirit medium Scott Allan and Christina Bowen, the Green Witch of Tennessee.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Paranormal Project radio show. It's so good to be with you this Wednesday evening. Hello, my friend Christina. How are you?
Hey, Scott. I'm excited.
I'm excited, too, and I have to apologize. We're a few minutes behind because, it sounds like a joke. What happens when two mediums and a witch walk into a bar? Well, you get electronic troubles, and this is what happens, and everything's going wonko. So we had to delay the show by a couple of minutes, but we're here. Hello, Melissa Blackman. So good to see you as well. So welcome. I'm so excited for this show today. My good friend Robert Neal Marshall is our guest for tonight, and you may have remembered him from last season. You may also remember him from, well, if you watched House of Cards, the final season, episode 1, he was on House of Cards. He's a producer, he's a filmmaker, he's a director, he's done casting, he's done everything. And he is here with us tonight to talk about a new show that he has asked me to join him in, and it's called Providence of the Heart. And I think you're going to love hearing about this. If you're into near-death experiences and past lives and premonitions and mediumship and ghosts, well, that's what this show is about. So I'd like to welcome my friend Robert Neal Marshall back to the show. Hello, how are you, Robert?
Hey, everyone. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for having me back. This is really cool. And yeah, there's like energy in the air is all I can say tonight, right?
It's been crazy.
I break things. So, it's kind of how things go.
But just thinking about them, I look at like Kreskin. Remember Kreskin used to bend metal and
yes,
all of that? That's really cool.
Which incidentally, I will be with the amazing Kreskin in just a few weeks. Did I tell you that story?
No, that's so cool. Yes.
So I am going to be at Salem State College on Veterans Day weekend, November 11th and 12th. They have a gallery there on the Saturday and the Sunday, and one of the other guests is the amazing Kreskin, and he's got his own show, I think, after us on that day. So I'll be sure to be hanging out.
Yeah, say we were just talking about you. Well, maybe it was
ESP.
Yeah, I don't... Melissa, thank you for the message. Thank you for welcoming me back. So,
Yeah. So, Robert, I'm excited. Our show goes live next week at the Allan Theater in Middleborough.
Yep.
And it seems like it's been a long haul, but really, this is just the first step for us on a trip to a much bigger production, we hope. And people here in the Massachusetts area that would like to see Providence of the Heart, well, we're going to tell you a little bit about that tonight. Robert, Do you want to share a little bit about how this show came to be?
Well, the story that I know you like to say about how we actually met, they're just sort of some mutual friends in the industry, you could say, but that you had John Zaffis on your show a few months back, and I saw that, and you and I had been talking, and I wrote you, and I said, wait a second, this is the John Zaffis? I said, I played him on several episodes of a show called A Haunting. And so you invited me on the show, and I got to meet John virtually, and it was really amazing because he's got quite a powerful reputation in this realm, and I was honored to play him, but we never got to meet because they record the celebrity person, if you will, on separate camera, and then we actors we're doing the dialogue, we're reenacting, and there were some possession scenes with people floating in the air and all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, it was good fun.
Wow. good fun. Nothing like a good possession to light up the week.
Well,
That was
when you're
great.
an actor, it's done in not a real, there are ways to make it happen. It's very fake, but we make it look real.
You
So
make it look real, and that's what the magic of movies is all about. So, yes, that's true. We met, and we talked about doing this show because you had your experiences, and I've had mine opening to
yeah.
mediumship, and in some ways they're different. In some ways they're very, very similar.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We talked about what the medium and the nearly dead guy as one.
Yeah, that was one of the early titles.
Yeah, yeah, and then
Oh,
we
another
came
one we
up
were going to call it is Medium at Large.
medium at large. Yeah, yeah, medium at large. That's right. Yeah, no longer a medium, but
We
it was
do two
fun.
mediums and a small.
Two mediums.
Two mediums and a small.
I like
I'm
that one.
stealing
On
that
about
joke.
6 pillows.
Okay, you got it. You got it. I love that. Yeah.
She's on about 6 pillows. You can't see it. Just to get her tall enough to sit.
Oh,
Oh, that's all right. We love her.
we need to get one of those little cranks, right?
I do.
Right.
I
There you go.
really do.
So, Robert, tell
Yes.
us where this started for you. I mean, where
Well,
did this come to be?
the idea for the show, or just I mean,
Well, no,
it's
I mean, the
it's a
show is based on
lifelong.
your own experiences,
Yeah, it's a lifelong thing that sort of, culminated, I guess, 10 years ago. I had a massive heart attack. I went into VFib. I had the widowmaker, they call it. I had had GI issues that were undiagnosed. So when I was in agonizing pain, thinking it would lift in just a few minutes because the pain always lifted and went away, I kind of walked around and did what I normally did, thinking this will go away. And we'll talk about it in the show. I keep saying when we do these things, I don't want to give too much away. They have to come see the show if they want the full story. But I literally Googled heart attack symptoms and went through a checklist that says if any one of these happen within, call 911 within 5 minutes. And I'm going, yep. And this is 45, 50 minutes later. I'm walking around because you don't believe, as I'm sure many people probably say, they don't believe this is real. You don't believe you're actually possibly having a heart attack. And the last symptom, but all the symptoms were things that I had with these GI issues, later found out to be a very badly infected gallbladder and pancreatitis and things. I learned that after the fact. But at the time, I'm waiting for it to go away. And the last one on the list was nausea. And I never had nausea with these previous attacks. And I thought, if I didn't know any better, I could really be having a heart attack. And I was prompted to call 911, but you're scared. What if I'm wrong? I don't want to bother anybody. I think all of us, just those things go through our minds. And a voice in my head just said, hit the button now. And I had only about 2.5 minutes left when I got into the ambulance. They asked me a couple of questions and about like my weight or my age or something. And I'm like, wait, don't tell me. I know the answer to this. It was very bizarre that I something was wrong. And I just happened to mention the pain in my arms besides my chest, which was a little unusual because usually with the GI, it was lower, but it would radiate through my whole body. But it was different. And they just said, put a 12 lead on him. Like they want to get the EKG, leads. And I had a bathrobe on. It was 3:30 in the morning, August 3rd, 2013. And they said, can we open your bathrobe to get to your chest? I'm like, yeah, whatever you need to do. And the next thing you know, as you quoted the other day, and I said, it's like changing the channel on the TV remote. All of a sudden, I'm completely somewhere else. I am no longer there in an ambulance. I had no idea that I was now clinically dead. I had no idea that I'd been sick. I'm just this new reality. And it went on from there. But that experience, and there's a lot more detail to it. I was shown why I needed to come back through past life review, I guess you could say. And when I say past life, I meant from my current life. I didn't mean past life as in, but that's a whole other story there.
Yeah, your past in this life.
In my past in this life. And and by being shown these episodes, I was shown why I needed to come back. And they explained to me later that when you go into VFib, your heart just quivers like jello. It's not pumping anymore. It was starved of blood. And what ended up happening is when it went into VFib, I was no longer living. I couldn't breathe. I was unconscious. Everything had stopped. And literally then they shocked me. I flatlined. Because in the movies, they always make it look like you shock somebody and they suddenly pop back to life. And all these paramedics and actually go, oh, no, 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 Bob. When we shock you, you flatline. It's meant to break the rhythm that's gone crazy. You can see it like an oscilloscope. It's just quivering. And when they flatline you, then they literally do CPR. They pound on you and hopefully they get you back. And I've since read only 5% of the people who have this happen come out alive and make it through. And so I just feel like I was guided by, other forces, if you will, to get me to where I needed to be so I could come back and now tell my story, which apparently inspires a lot of people when I have one-on-one conversations. People are either curious or very frightened about death and what it means and psychic things. And it's spooky for some people. And there's a lot of love and a lot of joy connected with, as we all know, our spiritual connection to things. And so I would talk to people, and it was sort of like almost like a mission, if that sounds right. I don't mean it in a religious way, but like a job to come back and help other people feel inspired, comforted, know that there's more, and to live up to our true potential spiritually, emotionally, because then your life comes together. And that, I think, prompted the show, because now we can reach more people to do that. Have I made that? Does it make sense what I described?
It makes perfect sense. I do have a question for you, though.
Sure.
Your mediumship gifts, did that begin before or after this experience?
It's interesting. I will admit that I've learned things from Scott in working with Scott. I mean, he's become my mentor in many ways, and it's happening a lot. It just happened today. I mean, literally today. I'll tell you the story in a second. But I had psychic things that happened before when I was younger. And that was triggered by a story I wrote that was a fantasy story in my mind about a man who lived in the 1790s and died during the French Revolution. But I wrote my own interpretation of what it was like to die. And then this was just when the Dr. Raymond Moody's book, Life After Life, was just coming out. It's now common knowledge, these near-death experiences. Back then, I thought I made up my own. This was a fictional story, which all of a sudden 125 other people are describing that I knew nothing about. And I'm like, how did I know these things, right? If I never actually died, how could I possibly know these things at 120? So that opened up a doorway. And then from that point on, believe it or not, that opened up a gateway or a doorway to a lot of very vivid psychic experiences, many of which frightened me, but it got really intense. It was validated. There was no question something was going on. After my real life near-death experience many years later, I mean, as I've said, it's like someone turned the volume up loud. I'm plugged into something now that I wasn't before, and no fear of death. I'm very comfortable with all of it. And but people say, well, do you have like some death wish? I was like, no, not at all. I mean, but it's just, if it were to happen, I'm totally good with it. But I know it's not going to happen until I'm ready, because I got things to do and my job isn't done. And we all here to be here as long as we need to be here. And we worry about so much that we can't control. Live your life, open up, accept it. That's kind of the message of the show.
And, I think we get, we're so tuned in so many of the same ways, because, you talked about there being a fear of death. And
yeah,
of course, I've been working in a funeral home since I was 16 years old.
Right.
I started out in high school. I was cleaning and vacuuming and washing cars and doing all of those sorts of things. I wasn't directing funerals, but I was certainly around it. And, in those little psychic pieces that you don't really, at the time you pass them off as a coincidence, but it's not. I mean, in hindsight, I look back at some of these things and I think, oh God, that was something, and we'll tell a story in the show about how I got called out to a house for someone who had passed. And I was questioning, I was about 17 years old at the time. And I said to the man I worked for, wow, how do they know he's dead? And he
Good
said,
question.
well, I mean, they do this all the time. Just get dressed. Let's go. And I said, yeah, but how do they know? I mean, I know they do it all the time, but how do they know? And the answer should have been, well, the medical examiner went, or the doctor went, or, something. The EMTs were there. Who knows? But I had this and I couldn't shake it.
It's like this feeling. Yeah.
I couldn't shake the feeling. And we went to get in the car and leave. And the phone rang, and I ran back and I answered the phone, and it was the police department. And they said, "Don't come. We found a breath."
Wow.
And
Right.
I
Right.
thought, that's just,
Yeah.
but we chalked it up to coincidence. And well, that was really strange. And that was it. And there
Right.
were a
Don't believe
lot
in
of moments
coincidence.
like that growing
Well,
up.
exactly. There aren't, but we're taught to believe there are, and I don't know. Everyone has a different background, whether it's a religious background or not religious. But it's sort of like, well, you have a vivid imagination. I used to get that a lot. You know.
Mhm. Or my mother would always tell me, "You're too sensitive, you're too judgmental, you're too this and that and the other thing." The fact was I was reading people, and I didn't realize I was reading
That was
people.
what it
You
was.
can call it empathy, you can call it whatever it is, but I knew when
Right.
I jibed with someone, I could tell you in 3 seconds after they walked in the room. And I wanted to be friends with you, or I knew right off the bat I wanted nothing to do with you. And it would sometimes drive my mother crazy because, she makes friends in elevators. So, you know, it just I was not that way. I was just a little more picky, but I really think it was being able to read and understand who these
Right.
people are. I just got the vibe almost immediately,
Right.
whether I like that person or not, you
But to
know?
learn to trust those feelings too. I mean, that's the hard part as well. I think what you've taught me, Scott, is that sometimes you feel like you're making it up. And that's what I felt. I felt I was making up things in my
Right.
head because it just popped into my head. But when I say something to somebody, they're astounded, or like the remarkable coincidence that you could have 1,000 possible names that would come to your head, or 1,000 possible things, but the one thing that pops in your head suddenly means something. Or sometimes they're like, no, no, that doesn't mean anything. And then they go, oh my gosh, wait a minute. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, wow. And, it just takes a moment, and it's not fishing for things. It's
No.
very specific things that are going to mean something to someone that is
Mhm.
not just random. It's that kind of a thing.
Well, and I will tell you, any medium I know, and I don't care how old they are or how long they've been doing this, will tell me that they trust, but there are those moments when you
Mm,
say to yourself, "I'm not saying that." I was in Maine over the weekend, and I sat with a woman. I was reading her,
mhm.
and I remember I said to her, "Look, this is bizarre. I have no idea why I got this, but I'm going to share it with you anyway."
Mm.
And I'm thinking in my head, I hope this means something because this is wonky. And I said to her, I said, "Why is he showing me a whole bunch of Cracker Barrel restaurants? I'm seeing them like in a line or on a map. I mean, like, what? This is crazy."
Yeah.
And she went like this. She went, "Oh my God." I said, "You understand that?" And she said, "Yeah, because every time we went somewhere, we took a route so that he could make sure he hit every one of the Cracker Barrel
Oh my
restaurants
gosh.
on the way, and he would map them out and know
No
exactly where they
way.
were so he could hit them." And I thought, "You can't make this stuff up.
And
This
that
is
doesn't apply to everybody, that someone would
Mm-mm.
have something that specific, right?
no, 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 no." And that's the stuff, that's
Yeah.
the stuff where you go, "Look, I don't know why I'm getting this. It's
Yeah.
so random and so out there, but those are those little nuggets of information that makes someone go, 'Oh my God, that has to be my dad.'" Who could come
Well,
up
it
with
gives them the confidence, and I
Mhm.
firmly believe that's how spirit lets somebody know whether you're dealing with a legit medium or not.
Right. Right.
There's some kind of message that would come through.
You could fly the discount cheap airline, or you can go with the good airline.
There you go.
Spirit. Isn't there an airline called
Spirit.
Spirit?
Spirit
Kind of
Air?
worries me. I mean, nothing against Spirit Airlines, but it worries me to fly an airline called Spirit. I mean, particularly
Yeah,
in our realm.
you don't wanna become one while you're in
Yeah,
the air
yeah, yeah. We'll take
or
you
on the way
closer to
down.
good.
Has a
Anyway,
complete different
sorry. I hope
meaning
we don't
for
get sued
us.
by Spirit Airlines. They're wonderful. They're really good people. Great flights, good prices.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but it
Well, it's
is a
like
form of
today, I was
image,
gonna tell you
right?
that sorry, the woman today, a friend of mine, rather, a man, I was speaking to about something completely unrelated, and we started talking about medical history because he's gonna have a liver transplant soon, he was telling me.
Mm.
And then he mentioned something about his mother passing. And the second he did, I just bam, in my head, I was just telling Scott about this. A glass of champagne, very specific, like a toast or champagne glasses. And I was thinking, I just did we lose Scott?
Uh-oh. keep going. He'll
We're
pop
still
back
on the
in.
air. Okay, so
We're on
until
the air.
Scott
We're
comes
good.
back. So he knows the story. So I'll tell you, Christine. So literally the two glasses clinked together in my head. I see the champagne. I thought, well, anybody's got champagne. Don't bother. So I said, just say something. So I did. I said, hey, just 2 champagne glasses or champagne or a toast. Does that mean anything specific to you about your mom? And I said, if it doesn't, I said, just think about it maybe later. And he goes, oh my God, no, you won't believe this. I'm like, what? Because I'm thinking again, like Nancy says, you feel like a fraud, you're like, I'm making this up. But he said, my mother never drank in her entire life. And then she was diagnosed. She had a life-threatening illness. And on her latter days, it was her birthday. And she said, what the H? I'm just going to have something to drink. And we had a very special toast, and it was champagne. And we did this. And then she said she had so much that she went into the bathroom. She came out with a toilet paper bow in her hair. Right? And while champagne, you could say, all right, Bob, champagne could mean anything to anybody. Everyone's had something with champagne. That was a very specific message that meant something. Yeah. There he is.
Hey, you're back.
You missed the story, Scott, but we talked about it today. I was just sharing it with Christine.
I heard the whole thing. I wasn't really gone.
Oh, he was hiding. But anyway, but yeah, and so, but it's magical things like that, and I won't tell the whole story, but a woman, she had a little bug in her hair, like a little ladybug, and we know that ladybugs and moths and butterflies are very symbolic. I just said, she said, oh, thank you for taking the bug out of my hair. I was like, well, that was your dear Aunt Rachel saying hello, and I was joking. And then afterwards, the second I said it, I was like, actually, no, really, do you happen to have an Aunt Rachel? Just no, I don't. I'm like, okay, never mind. But my daughter's name is Rachel, out of millions of thousands of it. And then again, her mother found out was not with us. She said, well, Rachel was my mother's favorite grandchild. She says, after I had Rachel, I didn't need to have any more grandchildren. So come on, Rachel, how many of them would come? I could have said 1,000 names from the baby book, right?
Yeah.
So it's subtle. It's very simple, but it happens when and where and how,
I love stories like that. The synchronicities.
Yeah.
Nancy says no more potty breaks on company time.
Right.
You're busted, Scott.
Oh, we're having fun here. Come on, guys.
We're having
that cocktail before the show.
But
on that note, Nancy, piss off.
Literally or figuratively. No, but anyway, guys, getting us back on track though. But the show that Scott and I are doing, really, it's the two of us are telling the story of our lives in key moments that deal with our discovery of our abilities, dealing with the fear and the unknown of those abilities and the challenges in our own lives. Scott working in the funeral home and growing up there, and me, psychic things and having this sort of past life thing that then turned on some switch. And then for me, actually having a near-death experience and going through and the changes that happened. And as again, a message to everyone about, this isn't just special to us. We all have this connection. I've joked, I got hit in the head with a sledgehammer, by my heart attack to turn it on. But I think other people, you can do that just by learning how to get in touch or pay attention to those little moments.
It's true. And, for me, it wasn't all fun and games either. You talk about getting hit in the head with a sledgehammer. It was frightening, actually. It was absolutely frightening. And, I didn't know what was going on. I thought, man, do I have an attachment or, is this mental illness? I mean, these are things that, when it was time, Spirit said, okay, time's up. Let's get moving. And it was absolutely frightening. I mean, I had spirits calling me out, on the radio. I mean, I would go on investigations with people who would ghost hunt. And I remember once I was on an investigation and we had a spirit box going, and somebody said, do you know anybody's name here? Classic. And there were about 12 to 15 of them calling out my name. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
And I have it recorded. I'll show you sometime, Christina. I mean, it was just, you've got to be kidding me.
Had that happen at Randolph County. your name was called several times,
They call me all
actually.
the time. They call me all the time.
You're
And
famous among the dead.
I am famous among the dead. And yeah, clearly. Yeah. No, I
Well, they
mean,
all want to get in line and talk with you, through you, reach their family. You know, you are clearly a bright, shining billboard to them, whatever it looks like on the other side that says "open for business." You know,
they say that your light burns differently when you do this work. I don't know if that's true. I mean, it might be just a way of explaining it, but they find us. They
Mm,
find us,
yeah.
and it's really crazy, And sometimes you'll watch some of these paranormal shows, and you'll get EVPs, and sometimes you're really straining to hear it and to really understand, or
Mm,
sometimes it's really a breathy or whispery, and you've got to really like put your
mm,
ear up to it, or put on earphones. And I was getting stuff that was just, it was like they were in the room with us,
mm,
talking in on the recorder. It was crazy, absolutely
yeah.
crazy. But it wasn't all fun and games. It was frightening, and it took a long time to figure out what was going on, and to, accepting it was a challenge. It was even longer.
Did you have someone you could turn to that could be a guide or some other medium at the
Well,
time to
Yeah,
help?
yeah. At the time, there was a medium that I had met, and I called her because I thought I had an attachment. I wasn't thinking, I wasn't
mhm,
ready to go down the mental illness route. I was ahead of that. I started
Mm,
recording things that were happening, like when they started calling my name, and
mm,
David and all this other business, and
mm,
and so I recorded it, and I figured, well, if I can hear it and you can hear it, then I'm not crazy.
mm.
yeah,
You couldn't hear it. I had bigger
Right,
problems
right.
than just an attachment. But I was pretty convinced that something had gotten hold of me, and I didn't know what to do. So I reached out to her, and I said, "Look, this is, I, you feel like an idiot, right? Like, I got the spirit after me." I think that's what I said.
Mm,
I've got the spirit
mm,
after me, and we met, and she's the one that kind of, she was testing me without testing me, without
mhm.
telling me, that she was testing me. But I really think she wanted to find out what was going on. And she's the one that told me what was happening. And I did not believe her. I always say, I saw the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, and that is not at all what was happening to me.
Right.
And
Well, I was
so,
gonna say popular movies and these paranormal shows,
yeah,
they are sensationalist in so many ways, and they do play upon the fear to sell movies. Even we were talking about The Conjuring House, how the movie is very different, and Andrea Perron very kindly through you, Scott, when we were invited on her show. I mean, to learn that there was a lot of love, and there's actually something really beautiful behind it, and
mhm.
that's a bad rap, I think, that popularity or sensationalism does to this.
that's what sells tickets, or sells
Right,
movie tickets.
Well, that's why everybody's freaked out by Ouija boards and everything, but yet nobody has a problem using a spirit box. One's
Dowsing rods, pendulums, table
it's
tipping,
all the same thing. Hollywood
interesting.
has spun its web
Right,
and made people
right.
think that all this is terrible. It's
Yeah.
my
right.
own opinion.
I know, I believe you, and that's part of what our show is we wanna break that a little bit and say, "This is human, this is every one of us." It's just when we're ready and when we find a way to make it connect, and maybe that's part of why we've been on this journey, so that at least bit by bit, we can share that. It's not easy,
Right.
you know?
Right. It isn't. And now, I still feel like I'm on a journey. I'm not there. I don't know that we ever get there. You probably
No.
get there the day you die. You're like, okay, you're done.
No,
But
but then you got a new job, you gotta start all over. It's like I was thinking today about an actor playing a role. As human beings, maybe in these lives, this is a role that we play, and when we're done, well, as a human being, as an actor, there's the next role, there's the next response. It might be a little break in
Mhm.
between. I mean, after this life, I would love to take a little cosmic vacation for a little bit, but then get busy again, and maybe then you step into another body, another life, and another role for another purpose until that one's played, you
could
know?
be. Could be. But if
So
it's really nice there, I don't think I want to necessarily start going off to other places. I want to settle in for a while.
well, we've
And
worked hard this time, I think. This has been a
yeah,
hard
no,
hard journey for us,
but
all
I
of us.
do feel like I'm on the right track. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm in the right place. I was invited to, I think I told you both, I was invited to Naples, Florida. I'm going to be doing an event in Naples, Florida at the end of
Mm,
February. And this is not a paranormal event at all. This is at a really beautiful spiritualist center in
mm,
Naples. I'll be doing a gallery down there on Friday night. private readings. There'll be somewhat of a lecture. I'll be speaking at their spiritualist service, and it should be a really nice experience. It's very, very different from any of this paranormal stuff. But I feel like that's how I'm opening up, and that's how I'm developing.
Yep.
And I really think that it's you know, I gotta say something. I'm hearing voices in my head, and they're not the dead people. So I think people are texting me, and all I can hear is I wear these damn hearing aids, and I put my phone on, like I thought I put it on airplane mode. And I'm like, I know they're not like the spirit world. It doesn't usually appear that way, but I'm hearing
Testing
I'm
1,
sitting
2,
over here
3.
freaking out because the
Oh
door
my
is closing, and then I realized the cat's in here with me. So
God.
I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, if I go out, it's not usually that. Usually it's yeah,
That's funny.
the real people. But anyway, so yeah, I think that this show is going to be so unique because we're going to touch all these subjects. We're going to talk about ghost stories and the premonitions and you know, Robert, you'll share it in the show. I mean, you have a couple of doozies. I mean, one really big one, premonition that you had that came to fruition.
I actually seen
Just,
plane
you know,
crashes and things. Yeah,
yeah,
and like
Mhm.
vividly, and it got to the point too. You know, you talk about the difficulty, or you're losing your mind, or is there an attachment? Or something. For me,
yeah,
it's like if I can't help these people, you know, I saw things and they were verified, but if I can't help them, then why am I seeing these? Well, I think I've learned since it was because there was a greater energy, a greater connection that I needed to learn. But I didn't have anyone to guide me that way. So I just said, stop, please make it stop. And it did for a while. It really shut down until, you
until.
know, August
Hmm.
3rd of 2013. And
You
then
know, you learn though,
kaboom, you're back.
you do
Welcome
learn
back.
that there is a way to control some of this, and I didn't understand it at the time. You know, I remember just standing around, and people would talk about their mother, and oh, there they are, they're right there. It doesn't work so much that
Yeah.
way anymore for me, unless I want it to. You know, if I am open to it, it can happen. But generally speaking, I go about my life, and I don't, you
Yeah.
know, there's a time. I have office hours. You know what I mean? There's a time and place for them to come in and visit, and otherwise they're not there all the time.
But you're a professional though. That is why you have learned your craft. And I'll call it a craft because I think while other people may be able to sing or dance or whatever, it takes a lot of training and a lot of practice to get to a certain level. You have gone into that professional realm. I have as an actor and as a writer to do that after years and years of trial and error practice and
Right.
laughter and tears. But I think it's the same thing, you know, if you have someone to teach you or you learn to be professional, then you can control. I didn't know that at 25, how to do that, you know.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right. But you know, I'm still learning. I'm still learning new
Yeah.
things. I have a mentor. His
Mhm.
name is Joseph Shield. Joe Shield is an internationally known medium. He's out of New
Mm.
Jersey. He is really, you know, kind of a little celebrity in this world. He teaches all over the place,
Mhm.
and he accepted me as one of his mentees. And so I'm still doing that. I'm
Sure.
still learning because there are techniques and things that, I mean, you know, you don't know what you don't know, right?
You
And
never stop learning.
you
I
Yeah,
really think
exactly.
we just don't.
Yeah.
and it's trusting, it's learning to trust.
Mm.
Because, you know, this is the thing, right? So people say, oh, I went to a medium once, they were fishing. And I'll say, well, how were they fishing?
Mm.
Well, they were saying things like, you know, did your mother have cancer, or did your mother have pancreatitis, or whatever it is?
Mm.
And I'll, you know, and I think really it's not that they're not real, it's that they don't trust enough.
Mm.
Because you can say it a different way. Listen,
Right.
your mom's here. She's telling me she had pancreatic cancer. You'd understand that, wouldn't you? And that's how to
Right.
say it. But if I said to you, did your mom have pancreatic cancer? It has a different connotation. It
Right. It
sounds
sounds like
It
you're trying
does.
to get
it's
information by
not.
going
Information.
through a
It's
list,
a
Mhm.
right?
matter of confidence. It's a matter of trusting what
Yeah.
you're getting, because spirit does not waste words at all. They
Oh,
don't. I
my
trust.
little experience is like, no, and it's very specific and very direct. So it's almost like you don't really need to fish, if it makes sense. And half the time, for me, a lot of people go, no, no. It's amazing when they actually say, but afterwards they think about it, and it's like,
Right.
bingo, and that surprises me but
Well,
again, I'm a novice. I'm not someone who's been taught.
but I've had, I would say 3 times over the last maybe month, I've received emails from people a week after the reading. They said,
Mm,
I got home, I didn't understand it. I really
yeah,
thought, like, why did I even do this? Nobody came through. And then all of a sudden, it all fell into place.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
talking to my next
Yeah.
door neighbor, and then all of a sudden, it all came out.
A
They don't
memory.
waste words.
No.
But the problem is that even though you book the reading, it's not always you that the people are coming for.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have a
Right.
message for somebody else, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
I told you the story about having the reading with the woman. Her grandfather was here, and all of a sudden, who auditioned for American Idol? I mean,
Yeah.
how
Right.
random is that, right? I mean,
Right.
how many people know someone that auditioned for American Idol? And she said, "Well, my next door neighbor, but we're not related." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Right.
well, you know, that message is for her. Tell her baby's okay." And she had lost the baby
Right.
a year
Wow.
before, so
Oh,
you
wow.
know,
Yeah.
these are the things that happen. And as the medium, I don't know. I only know what they tell me. I don't know how it fits in. It's really
Right.
like a Pictionary. I don't know how all the pieces sort of come
Right.
together,
You just present the puzzle pieces,
Just
Right.
and it's up
present.
to them to put it together.
Donna says she needs our help. Uh, well, I'm not sure what you need help with, Donna. If you're still here and you want to chat in the box, please feel free to say hello, or you can reach out through email or whatever. We'd be glad to see if we can help in some way. Um, so the show is at the Alley Theater in Middleborough, Massachusetts, and our dear friend Andrea Perrin is going to
Hmm.
be there on Sunday night, and we're there the following Thursday. I'm going down to see her on Sunday,
You
and
didn't tell me,
uh,
you little devil.
what's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I just said you didn't tell me you were going to see Andrea.
Well, she's going to be at the Alley Theater just a few days before us. She's talking about The Conjuring. And so, yeah, I'm going to come down. I figure it's a Sunday. I have time to go. I want to go down and see her. And plus, it'll give me an opportunity to talk to the woman who owns the theater,
Yeah.
Lorna
Lorna
Brunell.
Brunel, she's
And I get to
fabulous.
see the theater because I've not actually been in this theater myself. So it'll be good to get in and get a sense of the stage and what we
Yeah.
have to work with. It'll
I'm
be
gonna
fun.
try. I promise. I'm gonna try to come down if I come up for me on
Yeah.
Sunday, but I have to go back. But then I'll come back later in the week, obviously for our show. But I'll try. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but it would be lovely
Yeah,
to see
well,
you.
I mean, it's not like you're next door. You're in DC. I'm in Boston. It's a little
Mm,
bit of a
yeah,
trek.
piece of cake.
Piece of cake. But yeah,
I'll
so
just hop on my
so
broom.
just
There you go. Now you're talking. And how do you know that isn't how I was gonna get there?
We'll talk after the show.
I just if this were Bewitched, I'd say like I'm like Uncle Arthur is my character.
there you go.
I
Uncle
love it.
Get
I
hip,
love it.
Sammy.
Sam. Yeah.
I've been
Um,
called worse
Ah,
today, even. No.
oh no, that's so funny. Well, you're Christina, but she was a Sammy, Samantha. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that was a fun show. I used to love that show back then.
Well, see, because it was all about. I loved any show that had to do with science fiction or magic, or I mean, I think it's popular culture, but there was always something more to it, wasn't there, guys? To watching
There
these
was
things.
Bewitched and Star Trek.
But
Yeah.
it's so funny you say that because that's in my book. And I felt like I fit in with these fictional people because they were just kind of misfits trying to fit into a normal world.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think to a certain extent that was who I identified with. I didn't quite understand why I was different than everybody else, why I
Right.
knew things or read people or understood. I certainly didn't think, oh, I must be psychic. That wasn't it at all. But I didn't understand it. And I felt like in some weird way,
Hmm.
I had a connection with them.
Yeah.
Kind of funny, you
Very,
know?
very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
And I was going to share with you guys that the title, Provenance of the Heart itself, This was the name of my autobiography. And then when Scott and I were talking about names for the show, I've actually decided to change the name of my autobiography to something very different that still has a spiritual significance. I used to do a lot of automatic writing, and I learned about my guides. And I had a guide named Millie, as was identified to me through automatic writing. And Millie would always say, when the time is right, 8 above the rest, you will know. She always closed with that. I don't know why, but it was consistent. So I've changed the title to 8 above the rest, because it's also like intriguing. What the heck is this about? But
Yeah.
Providence of the Heart was a blog that I started basically because of my heart attack and near-death experience.
Mm.
And when Scott and I were talking, it seemed that this applied more to the nature, the broader scope of the show. So I'm happy that we're able to use this name, because Providence has many different meanings. It's not just a city in Rhode Island, guys, you know.
Right. No, but it's true. And the show, while it does have that sort of paranormal edge, really it is not so much about that. It's about these everyday affirmations that
Yeah.
life is truly eternal, and we all
Yeah.
have a little piece of this magic in all of us. It's just
Yeah.
that we just need to stop and listen and pay attention, and then it
Take a
shows.
breath, you know.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
You really need to
Just
take a
be.
breath.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to just be.
It's the hardest thing. People don't realize, you know. So
I
And you
struggle
know,
with it.
and I always say too, and I think Robert, you'll find this out at some point too. If I don't sleep at night,
Mm.
if I have a headache, if I
Mhm.
get in an argument with, someone that,
Mm.
I can't read. I can't do it. My
Interesting.
head is not in the right place.
Too much
You have
energy or
to be-
emotion that blocks.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to be in a place that's free of all of that. And so I sit for 5-10 minutes, and Spirit, I trust you.
Mm.
Come and use me. I'm just the instrument. That's it. And I don't have to understand it. Just use me and play me any way you want and show me. They use all of my life experiences. I say it's kind of like you have this little 5 millisecond flash of something, whether
Right.
it's a
Right.
photo, and in that is all this emotion and feelings and thoughts and memories that aren't yours. It's like this cluster bomb, that goes
Mhm.
off in your head.
Yep.
But when your head doesn't have room for it, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work.
And that applies very much to life. And that's sort of a point to me, at least of the show too, which I was saying earlier, is that it's not just about being able to see and hear spirit or to be psychic or to be a medium. It is to live our lives. It is to have things happen that are enriching, that lead you on to the next step, opportunities that will open up to you, have nothing to do with dead people or ghosts or spirit or anything. It's just to live life and embrace it, and a dream that you have of something you want to have happen, and how you work towards it. And you can work and work, but sometimes just opening up, listening to signs, following intuition. Maybe I should call someone. Don't wait and call them tomorrow. If you feel like doing it, call them now. That might be exactly the moment they say, I was just thinking about you. How often does that happen to all of us? Embrace that, the relaxation that you're describing, Scott, and make that part of your life, even if you're never going to talk to anyone other than your coworkers. You don't have to talk to heaven or God or anyone, just in your own life. To make
Those are those
peace.
little psychic things that happen to each of us. That's
Mhm.
psychic. That's what that is.
It
And
is.
Bob, you and I, we do this all the time. I'll
Mhm.
call you up or I'll send you a message. Oh my God, I was just thinking of you. Of course
You didn't
you
need to text, right?
would.
It's so funny.
Do it. I mean, it's
It
fun.
is. It's funny, but we all can do that, is my point. And people can live their lives more fulfilled. And the more you accept it, the more you let go, the more it happens and the more things fall. And it's a living example. As many people may know or not, I literally recently retired from a job as an executive director of a nonprofit arts organization to go back into production, to go back into this creative process with theater and plays. And many people said, we were wondering, Bob, when you were going to finally come back to doing what you're doing. And I love the festival, but there was time to move on, and it's scary to move on and to give up, but it's exactly what I had to do, because everything was telling me this was right. And then all the reinforcement, the validations, as we say, happened afterwards. And, I'm not there yet. We're all working, but there are amazing things that have opened up, like working with Scott Allan and this Providence of the Heart and other projects, that it is magic. Magic is real, and it's uplifting when you can feel that. You know what I mean? It's It's crazy.
It's true. You're talking
Singing
to
my song,
here.
speaking right to my people.
Yeah, there you are. Exactly.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So how can people get tickets to Providence of the Heart?
Well, your website for one, which is
Medium Scott Allan, ALLAN.com.
correct.
Put
You
that
can also
on.
just go to providenceoftheheart.com. And either way, it will take you to tickets are available on Eventbrite. And Scott, you had that trailer going by at the bottom. We didn't explain what it was. It was
Yeah, I'm putting the website on now.
Oh, he's doing that. Okay, but it's
Or-
POH10, POH Providence of the Heart 10 will give you $10 off any ticket right now. And the tickets are only 25. So that drops at what? I can do math in my head. 15. Oh, there you go. You got it all there. Save $10.
Yep.
And the tickets are now that we're getting into last week, the ticket sales are definitely picking up and it's going faster. So it's a small theater. So if you would like to come, if you're listening to this, I would say go to Eventbrite and do that. And a little secret, a little plug, there is a brand new shop just opened recently in Middleborough called The Flying Banana. They've got frozen bananas and banana treats and desserts. They're really wonderful. And if you go into their store, they will give you a 50% off code that you can use. So you can use POH and definitely save the $10 or save 50% by going into the new Flying Banana and enjoying a treat.
And you can get there just for that. Yeah, if you're local. Otherwise, you can use the, if you don't want to go down there just to go to the store, you get $10 off.
Yeah.
But it's important to say the tickets are only $25 to begin with. So if you're saving $10, it's $15, and if you're saving 50%, it's $12.50. I mean, God, you can't even go to Starbucks for $12.50 anymore. You get your grande, venti latte,
Well, exactly.
whatever. Yeah,
and honestly, the ticket prices right now, it's a small theater. It's going to support the theater, and to make all that happen and to support the wonderful programming that they're doing over there at the Alley Theater. So I promise you, Scott and I are not retiring on any of this at this moment. This is an investment of love and spirit and guidance. And so we hope that you guys will come down and really just share the evening with us. We'd love to meet you.
And if you come right before intermission, Robert and I are doing this really big dance number. There's tap and jazz. We have jazz hands, a little pot of bourrée, and a grapevine. And you're gonna.
You said you're tap dancing, Scott. You said you were going to tap dance.
That's going to be a pay-per-view, Scott. I need to talk about that. Yeah.
I'll never forget.
Oh my gosh!
I was auditioning for a show. This has got to be like 25 or 30 years ago. And it was a dance show. And honestly, I'm not a dancer at all. But yeah, you go through the audition and you do all the thing, and the music, the choreographer said to me, "Man, you are white." And he didn't mean my skin, he meant my rhythm. I had I had no rhythm at all. And I was like, yeah, I can't help it. I don't move well at all.
Yeah.
None.
Well, for me, do you know how hard it is to find 2 shoes for left feet?
Yeah.
Two left feet.
Sorry. You got to buy 4. You got to buy 2 pairs.
4 pairs just to get the left feet. Yeah. No.
It's true. It's bad enough. Yeah, but I hope if you're around, you'll come and join us. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
And this is really unique because this is the first step towards, this is the first thing before this goes on to a national.
This is like a workshop. We called it a workshop, and everyone was like, wait a second, are we going to have to, get into sweats and exercise or something? No, it's not that kind of a workshop. In theater, a workshop is trying something out in front of an audience, trying the material, finding out if it resonates, finding where the laughs are, because there are funny things that happen too, and also where the serious moments are. Is there a rhythm? You guys are actually going to be part of a very creative theatrical process, which is fun. I find it fun. It's challenging, but that's how things grow. Nothing opens up on Broadway like immediately. They've gone through various versions and various sometimes years of development to get to be really sharp. So this is kind of fun as a theatrical.
And it's fun for me because if you don't know Robert, he has opened some big shows in New York and in the West End of London. And so he's not, this ham and egger. He knows what he's doing.
He can be hammy. Yeah.
Well, But the fact is, he knows what he's doing, and he's done this before, and so I'm so excited to be a part of this event. I just can't wait to get out there and do this. Plus, I haven't been on a stage in a few years, other than my galleries. Not since my son was born. The last show I did was probably about, what is he, 10? It was probably 12 years ago.
12 years ago.
It's been
and the nature of it too is while it is theatrical because we're on a stage and we have some planned projections that'll support it and things, and there are some basic theater lights, this is really kind of like the show we're doing now. It's a conversation with the audience. It's sharing stories in a very relaxed way. And while the audience wouldn't necessarily ask, we're not having a Q&A in the middle of the show. We're going to have a reception afterwards where they're going to have drinks and food. I think the theater has some for sale. They're very reasonable, but that will be there to do a meet and greet and answer all sorts of questions. But it's more relaxed anyway. It's a conversation. It's not Les Mis. So if you're expecting that, it's not Les Mis.
Right. Exactly.
Or Phantom of the Opera, or
hopefully it's less miserable than Les Mis.
Listen, it just had 15,000 performances in the West End of London. It's still running. When I worked in the West End, they opened while my show that I was working on it for the producer called Me and My Girl, a British musical. We won Best Musical that year against Les Mis. They were also cocky sure they were going to win.
I'm going to have to jump in. I'm getting signs over here. Big
we're
red stop
trying to
signs are
wrap
flashing
already?
to me.
Oh my God. Anyway, I'm just saying the show is run forever. So
yeah. But this is the first step. And so if you've never been to a workshop, if you've never been to a show before it goes on to bigger and better things, this is a great opportunity to check it out. And it's such a fun, friendly little theater with some good people. And yeah. So we're going to do that. And I also want to say just a couple of little announcements. We only have a couple of minutes left, actually.
Actually, I think we're out of time.
Is that what we're getting? It's like,
the big stops. I'm over here on the side.
We're about to go into VFib, the show, right?
Okay. Oh, you know why? Because we started late. That's why.
Yep.
All right, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here. Come see us at Providence of the Heart.
Thank you, everybody.
Next week. Have a great night, everybody.
You've been listening to the Paranormal Project radio show with Scott Allan and Christina Bowen. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're there, leave us a rating and review. We'll be back next week with more exciting guests. Now go out there and explore the paranormal.